Hello folks and welcome to a Wise Game video, where in today's video we're going to be covering Wrath of the Lich King Classic for PvP. Now this is going to be an updated video. We're going to be covering vendors, the kind of gear you can get from PvP, so on and so forth. And also about the currencies and things like that needed to actually purchase these bright and shiny pieces of gear and weapons. Now, I did come out with a video covering Wrath of the Lich King, about a year or so ago, but it ended up getting outdated. A lot of the information has now changed, coming on over to Wrath of the Lich King Classic. So, not to put out false information, I did remove that video. So again, always keep in mind, these things can always change. But as of the date of October 2022, this is pretty much what we're saying. So let's get started. So now I'm going to start off today's video with the lowest item level PvP gear and weapons that you could get in the game, and then work our way up. So the first set of gear I'm going to be talking about also has resilience rating, which resilience, as we know, that's a defense reduction in PvP. And these blue pieces of gear you can even buy in the auction houses. And then also PvP vendors. So these are made by professions. So in this case, we're looking at the Savage set, which is made by Blacksmithing, which has resilience rating plus an item level of 187. And then for tailoring, for cloth wearers, we have Frost Savage gloves, or I should say the Frost Savage set. And this is again item level 187 with resilience. And there should be a make for every profession as far as leatherworking goes, but I'm not 100% sure about that at this moment. So I'm going to be coming out with a later on video covering more about the profession side for PvP gear. So bottom line, it's always worth checking out the auction house if you want to use gold to buy these pieces of gear starting off PvP. Next up, we're going to be taking a look at the city vendors. So this is going to be Stormwind for the Alliance and also Orgrimmar for the Horde. Now, I'm not going to be showing each faction's vendors, but the information should all remain the same. So the lowest item level that the vendors have in Stormwind and Orgrimmar when it comes to the gear in the game for PvP is item level 200. And this does require level 80. And these are also called the Savage set. So we could see from the makes of the profession that these pieces of gear right here are a little bit higher stat-wise. And again, item level-wise. And these are going to require the currency of honor points. So for the Savage Gladiators Fill Weave hand gear, this one's going to cost 35,000 honor points. And then a vendor that's also located in the same room is the Hateful vendor. Now we're going to notice something about these pieces of gear. Now you may be thinking to yourself, how come they're epic, the Savage is blue, but yet the item levels are still both 200? Well, the reason being is because the Savage gear has your main pieces. So that's where you could get helmets, shoulders, and chests. But the vendors here for the Hateful gear, they only have your off pieces. So this is where you're going to be able to get things like your belt, your neck pieces, your boots, and so on. And again, the requirement for these is honor points. And then the next PvP vendor in our capital cities has the Deadful gear, which happens to be the highest gear right now for this season. And the item level of this gear is 213. Now, just like the Hateful vendor, the Deadly vendor also only sells here in this room the off pieces. And these also sell for honor points. Now, if we notice, this is pretty much it right now for the vendors when it comes to our capital cities, when it comes to level 80 PvP. But I am predicting that as the seasons go on and this game starts to progress more, we are going to start to see added vendors to these areas. And we also notice so far we see no weapons. So we see no level 80 PvP weapons being offered. A little more about that in just a moment. Next up on the list, we want to check out the PvP vendors in the Dalaran sewers. And of course, this goes for both factions. This is Wrath of the Lich King's main location when it comes to the PvP vendors for this game. Just like we had with Area 52 in the Burning Crusade. Okay, so now here we are at the PvP vendors located in the sewer. And again, this is for both factions. Is that we're going to see that the Apprentice vendor right here has the Savage Gladiator gear, just like we seen back in Stormwind, with the same item level of 200. But we notice now that this guy is asking for both arena points and honor points. Now the pieces of the gear are pretty much the same as we seen earlier, but the reason for this is that if you happen to have a boatload of arena points, if you notice the honor points and the cost for this is a lot lower. So something that would cost like 32,000 honor points in Stormwind, at this vendor would only cost you about 4 to 5k honor points, along with the arena points. And again, I must add that you have to be level 80 for all these vendors down in the sewers. Now here's the hateful vendor in the sewer. And again, this person is also asking for honor points plus arena points. The same principle. But if you notice something different compared to the hateful vendor in Stormwind, this guy actually sells the main pieces. So he has hateful helmets, chest, pants, so on and so forth. And again, they still remain at item level 200. And then also located down here is actually the weapon vendor for PvP. It's about time, right? But now keep in mind, to get the weapons in the game right now for PvP, if you want a PvP weapon, you have to have arena points. There is no vendor in the game whatsoever that will sell you weapons with honor points. And again, these are called the deadly weapons. Now usually in Wrath of the Lich King and later on patches and seasons, we're going to end up seeing more vendors added to this area also. And a higher tier of PvP sets, like the Wrathful gear. I'm not sure if they're going to stick to this in the Wrath of the Lich King Classic, but I don't see a reason why they wouldn't. So again, this is only for the current season at this time. Okay, now another great way of getting PvP gear in the game, I don't advise it at the start if you're still stocking up on your emblems. So emblem vendors in the game does carry some PvP gear, which is great to use later on when you've got an overabundance of this type of emblems. And at this time, there's only a few different emblems in the game, like Valor and Heroism. And so at this time, these vendors do carry some pieces of the Savage PvP pieces and also the Hateful PvP. Again, as later seasons get added to the game, they will be releasing more emblem vendors and also the higher tier PvP pieces. But I just wanted to mention that in today's video. This is another alternative way of getting PvP gear in the game. And keep in mind, no weapons here. Last on our list is the battleground called Wintergrasp. Wintergrasp has two currencies of its own called Wintergrasp Marks of Honor and also Stone Keeper's Shards. And these are used to purchase items, gear, and all the above from the vendor in Wintergrasp, who is located on a large mammoth in the fortress. Now, the only time you have access to this is if your faction controls the fortress or controls Wintergrasp. Now, this vendor also carries gems for PvP, even recipes, and some PvP gear. And like I mentioned earlier, a lot of recipes when it comes to jewel crafting, when it comes to PvP specifically. So basically, all you need, again, is these two currencies for Wintergrasp. You don't need any honor points whatsoever to buy from this vendor. He even sells some trinkets when it comes to PvP, and he also carries heirlooms, which is also known as BOA gear, which is bound on account. So these are pieces of gear that you could buy for your alternate toons when they're leveling up, which makes them stronger and gives them certain perks in the game. One of the best being a 10% increase when it comes to experience gains from killing and completing quests. And now we could see more about the level 80 PvP pieces of gear that they carry. So he sells some pretty cool stuff. And again, during this season, these are item level 200. And then something else I want to mention too when it comes to Wintergrasp is that there's another way that you could get PvP gear in this game that's really good gear. And that's if your faction owns Wintergrasp and you do Vaults of Occupon, VOA, which later on is going to have 4 bosses, but it starts off with just 1 boss at this time, and then with each additional patch, they add more bosses, which drops really good PvE and PvP epic gear. And that's about it, folks. So here's my updated list and how to get PvP gear and which vendors and the cost and all the above. I've been rather busy lately with a new job and all this, but I am going to be releasing more PvP videos and other World of Warcraft videos in the very near future. So again, thank you so much for visiting Wise Gamer. I hope that this information helped. Remember to sub up for more awesome videos coming your way. Ring that bell notification down below and even add a nice comment. Hey, after all this is free and it really helps the channel. And until the next time, you folks have yourself a fantastic day.